You had talked a lot about saying yes, but has there ever been a time you said no?
There has been a time that I've said no, and it actually came at the end of what was, for me, the most frightening experience I've ever had in my career. And it was an odd thing. I happened to be a presenter at a conference, a meeting of all of the officers, and I'm not an officer at this time. I'm, a puke in the organization. And I passed the CEO prior to my presentation. I passed him in the hallway, and he stopped and spoke. And we exchanged words, and for some reason, something came over me, and I told him that I asked that if he ever had a moment, that there was something I'd like to speak with him about, and that was the fact that we, as a company, were not doing well in the full utilization and the promotion of women and people of color in the company. And he says, "Oh, you think we're not doing well in that, huh?" And I sensed the shift, and it was like, well, no, no, sir, I don't think we are. And he says, "Well, come and see me. I'd like to talk to you about that." I wasn't even living in the same city as headquarters was located at the time. I'm just in to do a presentation. I went home and told my husband about, you just won't believe the stupid thing I did today. And I repeated to him. But I decide, okay, that's it. I'm going to forget it. Hopefully he will forget it. About a week later, I get a call from his secretary who says, "Mr. Whitaker's been expecting you for about a week now. He wants to know, when are you coming in?"
Oh, he remembered.
Yeah, the boss remembered. So I do go in, which I still remember, and that was a lesson to me, was the wonderful way that the CEO followed up on that. So I did go and visit with him, and I made this presentation, not a presentation, I had this very candid conversation, because he provided the space for that very candid conversation about how the company, in fact, was not doing as well as it could be in the utilization of people of color and women. And I had thought about it, and I gave all of this advice, and all of this, these facts and so forth. I said, we're finding ways to get countries that don't want American businesses to do business in their countries, and we struggle with that problem, and we find ways to convince them that this is a good and right thing to do, and they open their borders and let us in. But we can't find a way to figure out or to find competent, capable, qualified people of color and women to enter our business and make their way up the ranks. We can't crack that nut. I said, I tend to think it's because, one, we feel is a real business imperative, and the other, we feel it's the right thing to do. And I believe we want it, but I don't believe we think that it is a true business imperative. And we talked a long time about that. And I saw a giant of a man who looked at a puke of an employee and said, "You have explained some things to me in a way that I have not thought about before, that I had not understood it this way before. And I promise you I will do something about it." And I thought that was quite incredible. I go on back to my town, to my job. I'm working. My boss comes to me, my immediate boss comes to me some months later and says, the company has a new position that they have opened, and it is a director of diversity. This is the first time the company has ever had this position. And there's been some interest in you self-nominating for it. And I said, I saw that was in the system, but I'm not interested. I'm not that kind of professional. I'm not interested. He goes away, comes back a few days later. He says, "Listen, I just wanted to mention to you, I've gotten a couple of calls, and there's some real interest in you applying for this job." And I said, "I really appreciate it. That's a compliment, but I'm not interested." He said, "Are you sure?" I could tell he's doing everything he can to keep from saying, you better apply for this job. And I'm like, I'm in strategic planning. I'm not interested in that job. So I'm at my desk one day and I get a call and it's like the voice on the line.
I know, yeah.
And it's like, look, you told me we had a problem. You came down here and we talked for a while, and I'm convinced that this is a business imperative. This is something we need to do, and now we've created this position and you won't help to fix it. And that was a time when I really needed to reach in. And I said, I understand. And I know when I saw the position, I knew why it hit. And I think this is the right thing. And I so respect you for doing this. The number one person in our company championing this and doing it. I said, but that this isn't the job for me. Why not? What would it take for you to, why isn't this the job for you? I said, for one thing, it's a lateral. And you know, I don't need another lateral at this point. I said, okay, what level do you want it to be? Wow. Biggest mistake I ever made in my life. I just said the next level up. Your assistant, that's the one I wanted to be. But I said the next level up. He said, okay, you got it. What else do you want? I said, well, I would like it to have whatever is built out of this. I would like it to have your handprints on it, your fingerprints. So it's clear you're the champion. Not a problem. I am the champion. Yes, sir, I understand. What else do you want? Well, I think it would be good if the subject were to be discussed in your Monday morning meetings with on some occasion, so that the other key leaders understand how fundamentally critical this is to the business. He said, I think you're right on that. We have a deal? I said, yes. This is done? I said, yes, sir, it's done. So there were a couple of no's before I eventually got to yes.
But even the fact that you had the no's, you're talking to the CEO of the company, and in that moment you had enough, you took a moment for yourself to say, no, that's a lateral move. That's not in this trajectory, sticking to the course, as you said earlier.
I was well into my career. You know, as a 10-year employee, I don't think I would have been able to say it. But by this time, I understood what my plan was, and that was not a part of it.
You had that resolve. All right.
But it was an incredible thing and an incredible position and an incredible company leader to make it happen under those circumstances.
Yeah, have that support.